Universal lyrics. It feels to me like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, people were much more hung up on universal lyrics than they are now. And I'm not sure if that's because musicians, songwriters have learned that to add that aspect to their craft and write with universal lyrics, or if people using songs as background source, a bar scene, a jukebox, that it doesn't really matter if it mentions a name or the name of a town if it's being played in the back of a bar scene. How do you feel about that? I would imagine as a library that universal lyrics are still somewhat, if not very important to you because you never know what the pitch is and you never know, universal lyrics are easier to deal with than not. Am I right about that?
Well, yes, absolutely. That being said, you know, I won't mention any names, but I have been on a taxi rally once or twice where a supervisor will say, I never pay that close attention to lyrics.
Right.
And then a week or two later, I'll get an email and they're looking for very specific lyric content. And, they can't help it. They're answering to a producer that's asking for X, Y, or Z. But I would say universal lyrics are a good place to be writing from. I would also say branch out and don't just write relationship songs. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I go, I've got the perfect piece of music, and I pull it up and I go, oh, dang, they don't want it to be about love.
Right.
Or they want it to be about familial love, not relationship love, not like, you and me, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever the relationship being. It could be, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. I mean,
a friend. Yeah, absolutely. Those are going to be really important in the relatively near future as people start looking for stuff for the post-pandemic productions. There's going to be all kinds of love in those,
Well, absolutely. I mean, and again, going back, we shall overcome. I mean, all that is going to be rearing its head, and you know what? It will be viable for years to come because, if it's a scene and if it's about football players or it's about a baseball player or it's about any sports person, overcoming obstacles is part of sports. It's not just viruses and economic downturns. It's part of the human experience. And, I've been around again for a while, but, the Beatles were a funny group in that they wrote about a lot of different things. It wasn't just, I want to hold your hand. I mean, there was a lot of, I am the walrus. I mean, I don't know if I could get that place these days, but, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it's good to branch out. I think, but if you can, again, going back to the 60s, all you need is love, or, togetherness, I think those songs were not that specific. There wasn't a girl's name uttered or a guy's name uttered. Occasionally there was, but it's kind of held true.
Absolutely.